All right, welcome back. I just had to get logged into the channel myself. Thank you for stopping in again at Nine World Chronicles. Just a little live play. I like to get, some live out every week, right? Just as good for the channel, right? You know how it is. We're working the analytics here. And always thanks to you guys for stopping in, supporting the channel, supporting the live when you do. If you care to stop in at any time, I'm just going to talk about some characters I've kind of profiled, some of the stuff I've been watching this week, and just kind of have some fun comparing some characters. But as always, you're free to give me your suggestions. And I was into some comic book stuff this week. I was actually reading about a couple of versions of Thor, is what took me down this rabbit hole. And as I got into it, I discovered this version of Thor. So obviously, up top, you have Diana Themyscira, or Wonder Woman, as you know her, and she's straight out of mythology, right? Like in the sense that now she's heavily mythology. She's really defined like how we see female characters. But talking about her abilities, like obviously being, made from this clay by the gods, had a hand in making her. She's exceptional, powerful, and well-known commodity with her fighting skills and her strength, right? And then I happen to wander across this Iron Hammer character, right, which is a kind of like a what if character, and Marvel loves to have these alternate like what if kind of worlds. And in this world, somehow, I guess using the Soul Stone, Gamora is able to like merge worlds. So you get this version of Tony Stark that's mixed with Thor. So ultimately, what you get is Tony Stark now building with Asgardian like science magic, right? Their whole magical science thing. So he uses, ruins or carvings on the armor. He builds it out of obviously some of their metal, but infuses it with Tony Stark ingenuity and creates a very powerful suit that to me feels like it's supposed to be a version of like Iron Man and Thor 1. And the character is like Sigurd Stark, I think is the name. And so with this full complement of Stark weaponry, including the hammer and the special metal, can he go up against Diana Themyscira? Can he take on Wonder Woman? And here's the thing: I've been struggling with this one, and I'll tell you why. Like Wonder Woman versus Thor, to me, always felt like a Thor battle. That was always going to be Thor handling that business. But Iron Man versus Wonder Woman, clearly he loses. That wouldn't be an addition. So I don't know if for the Thor side of it, if it helps you versus Diana or if it lowers things down. So I'm kind of looking at this character and I'm thinking that, with all the mythology about Diana, her strength, I would think this new hybrid Thor, right, character wouldn't be fully Thor strength, and I think he would need it, and I think he would lose to this version of Wonder Woman here. So that's where I'm going to start off. Just a mythology, kind of quasi mythology based two characters, which is what attracted me to it. But the idea of like the Iron Hammer character seems kind of cool. It's supposed to be a very powerful character. I just don't think in this scenario like this person comes out of this battle against Diana Themyscira. That's just what I got on this one. That's just honestly what I believe on this one. But I think it should be a good fight, and I like to see it. All right, this one here is something that's been keeping me up at night, and this is the Creeper. Up top is the Creeper. And the Creeper is still a creature that I don't even know what the Creeper is. I've done a couple of I've done research on the Creeper. And Terry, I don't want to do too much because he might understand that I'm reading about him and might want to do something about that. Okay, so that's the main thing with the Creeper. Very powerful creature. Who I have him going up against, obviously, is the Witcher, right? And the Witcher is a guy who, they make the Witcher through a process. If you haven't watched the show, he gets superhuman strength. He gets superhuman speed, reflexes, agility, immunity. He is nice with his training. And the Witcher is a tough guy, right? He's a big tough guy. So I think he's the kind of guy who's not going to be intimidated by the Creeper. But again, that doesn't really matter, right? The Creeper is what he is. He's going to try and eat you. He's only got a few days left. So this guy's in a massive rush. Now, I thought about the Witcher, obviously with his blades. I think the Witcher would be good enough to, one, ground him, because, the Creeper's going to fly. So I think he's savvy enough to get him grounded, maybe disable the wings, get him to the ground. And then it becomes like a pretty brutal fight at that point. And for this one, I gotta say, I think he could, if he understands that this creature's going to come back, if you cut his head off. If he understands that, I think his fighting skill is enough that he could be successful against the creeper. Although you know you're not killing him, right? He's not gonna die. If you cut his head off, he's just gonna put somebody else's head on his body. So all you can do is really cut his head off. Probably try and constrain him in some kind of way. I'm sure the Witcher would have some type of trap to be able to constrain this guy, and then you could claim victory of the fight, because that's all it is. Maybe you're able to bury him a few days early before his feeding frenzy was really kicking in, or he had been satiated. But that's going to be a victory for the fight, and I think that's a victory for all of us. If The Witcher was able to give us that against this guy, I would take that as a win. We kick that can down the road another 27 years and see what happens then. Maybe we have more heroes. Maybe we know how to fight better ourselves. But I'm not going out and letting the creeper just run free. So I appreciate the Witcher's help on this. All right. Another just straight up fight that I always found to be very interesting. I think is well matched. I think it's a well matched duo here, right? And you can see it up on the screen. Up top, Prince Nuadu, right, from the Hellboy series, that second flick, right? He's like an elf prince, is what he is, and he's got the enhanced strength. He's got the durability. He's got magical weapons. Right? He's really weaponed out against Riddick. Riddick, who's of course alien fury and DNA, very skilled fighter, seems to be exceptionally tough, durable, has a great instinct. And I think these two guys armed with the similar weapons, like if we set this thing up and it's just weapon on weapon, both of them, their natural skills, I gotta feel like Nuadu wins this battle. I was very impressed with this guy. I was very impressed with his agility, his quickness. This guy was flipping back and forth. He kind of got Hellboy on some bum stuff, man. I can't remember what he did, and I don't think Riddick would beat Hellboy either, right? By the way, so just from that standpoint, I feel like Prince Nuadu is a more skilled fighter, and I think that would show. And I think he's got the strength to deal with Riddick. 'Cause Riddick's gonna be, Riddick's kind of brutal, man. Riddick gets after it, but without like a projectile weapon or special weaponry, I don't think Riddick has a chance against Prince Nuadu. All right, this is another interesting battle, man. I was judging these two crews on overall skill set, right? If you've seen the movie Priest, right, you've seen the vampires, like very brutal vampires in that movie. And these are the three with Paul Bettany. I think that's Maggie Q. I don't know who that third guy is over there, but they form a pretty effective fighting team as they go out and lay these vampires. They're trying to save the damsel in distress. And I, of course, always keep near and dear to me, like Blade Trinidad. Didn't much care for the movie, but I felt like having Blade with the crew, Okay, here's just be honest. Hannibal's character, I don't know if it's written poorly. He didn't really do much to add to, like, the execution of the crew. I didn't see him doing much in terms of fighting. Clearly, Abigail Whistler was badass. And I think that overall... I feel like overall the Priest crew was a little more tightly knit as a crew, right? They functioned a little better as a crew. But you didn't have Blade. You didn't have just that powerhouse at the top of it. And that's what really set it apart. And for that reason, I'm going to say that the Blade crew is better. I think they're more effective. And I think if you guys got in fisticuffs, I think that crew would come out on top. So I'm going Blade on all counts. More efficient crew also would win in a fight. All right, here's another like kind of interesting thing. We're going back to Riddick's world here, and we have the Lord Marshal from that second Riddick movie, right? The Lord Marshal, the ruler of the Necromongers, and we're going to talk about him, strength, why he's a candidate to win this fight. But then I'm going to talk about Stormfront, and Stormfront, obviously from the boys. Stormfront is a product of Compound V, like one of the early versions of it. Stormfront has superhuman strength. She has flight at high speeds. She can control weather, it looks like, to at least a small degree, and she can generate lightning. The Lord Marshal is a holy half-dead who's been to the Underverse. And going to the Underverse gives you a whole host of other undeadly powers, right? Including, he's got enhanced strength. Including, he can move at incredible speeds through his soul. Like, he can project his soul out. And then he has other soul powers in that he can snatch your soul. So right off the bat, he's got some challenges in this fight with Stormfront, because she's a really, really mean-ass chick. And with her ability to fly and to shoot lightning, she can really make this a long distance fight, which is all 100% her fight. He doesn't stand a chance, really. He has to get her on the ground, obviously, to make use of his skill. Now, he does have advanced tech at his disposal, so maybe he can blast her out of the sky. That'll probably be his best thing. If he can get her to the ground, I say you go for the soul steal. She's very strong willed though, but I would think that would be the move that would really, really lay her out. I think they could go hand to hand for a minute. I think she could be problematic, but I feel like under the right circumstances that the Lord Marshal can. No, there's just no way. There's no way. No, her long distance weaponry is too much. It's too much. She's gonna win this fight. I have to go Stormfront at the end of it. At the end of the day, I'm going Stormfront. This is something that's just like, man, why can't this happen, right? I mean, this fight here. Colossus as a Juggernaut. I don't know if you guys remember when Colossus was the avatar of Sidorak. So he had the stone, that magical stone, that gave the Juggernaut his powers. And already has his Colossus power. So this got to be a very exceptionally powerful version of the Juggernaut. Now, there was also a time when Thor gets so damaged in a fight, like that he has to, his body's basically like going dormant so that it can recuperate. So the essence of Thor goes into the Destroyer body. The Destroyer tries to absorb him, but it turns out that Thor's spirit was too strong, and he eventually overcomes the Destroyer. And now he's running the Destroyer, and it creates with armed with Mjolnir. Destroyer armor of indestructible metal, and Thor's power. He gets the power of Thor is like an unstoppable force, and I'm always going to go with Thor again, especially against Colossus, because I think you can be kind of a bitch. But I respect what he is right now. I don't know for sure that Thor can take this fight, but I'm going to say just on a humbug guess, I'm going to go ahead and pick the Destroyer armor with Thor over the Juggernaut, and that's just coming from the heart. That's just what I feel about that. All right, a good kind of vampire matchup here. Obviously, the hybrid Dhampir Bloodrain, right? The Daywalker Bloodrain, half human, half vampire hybrid. Against Eric Northman, you guys might remember this guy from True Blood series. Was like a sheriff, and was like a king up in there. He was pretty bad. He's a pretty high-ranking dude. At a real nice club too. And here's the thing. I think there's a lot of circumstances under which Rain gets him. I think there's a lot of circumstances where that figure can handle a vampire. This is actually right up her alley. This is actually what she does. Right? I just feel in this particular setting that Eric Northman wins this particular fight. That's ironic bite. But it's really in his ability, how fast he can move. I don't know if because, different vampire mythologies, he can move at these great speeds. I don't know if she can counter that. So that's where I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to have to tilt this fight towards Eric Northman, just because I don't think she can counter her speed. All right, this is a family battle here, and one that should be had. And up top, Black Noir. And Black Noir is kind of a known commodity, one of the scariest guys in the seven. I mean, obviously Homelander is the scariest, but pretty scary guy here in Black Noir. Super speed, super strength, right? Stamina, durability, smell, and hearing. Up against the Daywalker Blade, who possesses a lot of vampire traits, including speed, strength, durability, ability to heal. And out of these two, it's going to come down to who's a better fighter out of the two. So I think their power levels are going to be pretty similar. Well, I'm going to say I think Blade's stronger. I do think Blade's a whole lot stronger than him. I'm going to go on this fight with Blade anyway. But I was kind of telling myself they were closer in strength, but that's not the case. So I'm going to go with Blade on this one. I think Noir's a good matchup, and this could be a good fight. But I think ultimately Blade's going to be way too much. Whap, 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 whap. All right, and just one that I just really wanted to see how people felt about. Baal, the Semitic sky god, wielder of thunder, versus Zeus, who is the Greek god, where he's got God's strength, cosmic powers, he's got the thunderbolt. This is their version of their supreme deity. We know he's armed with a thunderbolt. So this makes it a very interesting battle because Baal is a very powerful guy. It may have even been an influence on the development of Zeus as a character. So he might be daddy to Zeus in a lot of ways. And in Semitic culture, he was written about as an exceptionally powerful. This is the supreme deity. He was their version of the sky god, and typically that is held as the highest position in that pantheon, like the gods you're venerating. And he is that dude. And you see that scowl on his face. And here's the thing: I don't know that Zeus has any advantages over him. I don't think that he does. So I'm giving him a puncher's chance. I'm giving Baal a chance in this fight to say that without any advantages, I think straight up in a fight, I think Baal would dominate Zeus. And that's kind of where I'm going with it. So again, give me your thoughts, give me your comments. I'm just kind of dipping in, doing some quick verses. I'm going to break these into shorts for the other channels. But as always, check out the channel, come and subscribe. Make your suggestions in the comment if you're looking for verses or just a profiling of a deity. Let me know, and we'll always be here to have some fun, enjoying talking about mythology with you guys. As always, thanks for